Delight your spirit this summer, centered in love. I'm going to start off with part of a short article from the New York Times by Mark Oppenheimer from 2012. It was titled, "Unitarians Break with Tradition of Extending Time Off in Summer." If you phone a Unitarian church between the middle of June and Labor Day in September, the most you're apt to get is a recorded message, Charles S. Slapp said in his sermon at the First Unitarian Society of Schenectady, New York on September 8, 1985. Our more orthodox friends never cease to be astonished by the contents of the message. This church is closed for the summer. If you're one of those people who actually need a church during the summer, try the Presbyterians. Was he joking? Well, in part. Mr. Slapp surely did not wish Presbyterianism on potential followers, but in the matter of his own church being closed for the summer, he was serious. Indeed, he added, 85% of Unitarian societies go into the strange ecclesiastical hibernation in the summer months. Now, although Mr. Slapp did not give a source for this figure, the sermon text can be found in the book, The Two Black Cats, published in 1993, a year after his death. And Unitarians of a certain age will acknowledge the truth in what he said. It was believed that after the school year ended, God took a break and Unitarians took to Cape Cod in Massachusetts. So this month's theme is delight, and I've kind of added on spiritual delight. So I want to talk to you about that today. And to start us off, I want you to kind of imagine. I'm going to give you a lot of phrases, and you can kind of settle into what they say. Either close your eyes, relax, that kind of thing. These are not my words. The Reverend Scott Taylor, along with being the source of our gathering words this morning, also wrote an introductory letter like he does every month for the Chalice Circle packets. And he did these extensive lists or ways he practices spiritual delight. Small summer things that make your spirit soar. So let me start the list. My children laughing together. The look of giddy disbelief on my mother's face when that black-capped chickadee swooped in and landed next to her knee, waking her up from her Alzheimer's days. The bitter bite of rhubarb pie, smothered by a spoonful of half-melted vanilla ice cream. That field of fireflies. Kickball. Deep dish pizza. The smell of a tangerine. Fresh press coffee. The first bite of a perfectly made croissant, proving that decadence sometimes purifies the soul. An artichoke with no limits on butter. Mixtapes made from the tunes from the 80s. Sweatshirts worn faithfully for 20 years. Their holes a reminder that to be used up is a gift. Stumbling on black raspberries while walking in the woods. No, scratch that. Instead, let's put in having a loved one save you some black raspberries they found in the woods. That sweet night owl quiet when worries don't seem so big or so scary. My 6-year-old daughter writing, "I love you, Mom and Dad," on our car seat in permanent marker. The way Subway Street musicians suddenly turn strangers into fellow humans. Or the feeling of getting warm after being cold. Isn't he a wonderful writer? We can easily imagine what is being described here, and they're all delightful. In fact, hearing some of these descriptions immediately the first time I read it stirred memories and feelings in me, a sense of delight that takes me out of myself and transcends space and time, which that's my definition today of spiritual delight. There are 4 or maybe 5 things that all of these have in common if you think about it. The first is a connection to it, a very visceral, down in your gut kind of connection, almost at a sensual level in the way he describes some of these foods. The second one is pure joy. I mean, you kind of giggled in here in the room or smiled. I mean, some of them you can't help but just smile. They're just instant, simple joy. There's also this subtle sense of belonging with others in the narrative, even if they're not named, in a particular space and time. But I think probably one of the biggest ones in all of this that they have in common is love. All are centered in love. A love of whatever thing is being described, or a love of the experience that's being described, or then loved ones that are in the narrative. Additionally, these are all similar in that they're all very, very intimate, very personal experiences. Or said another way, they occur at this kind of micro level. This is not some grandiose, sweeping mega trend that's going across the country. This is just you and whatever you're interacting with at this very small micro level. They delight our spirits because they're so, so very familiar. Well, these concepts are exactly what Brené Brown is referring to in her blog, Double Down on Love, that was written October 9th, 2019. Through her extensive research as a sociologist, Brown claims that belonging, connection, joy, and love are essential for healthy human development. Our brains are hardwired for it. We crave it, we seek it out, and when we get it, we're calmer, we're better able to function. Now, excuse me. Yeah, so all these examples naturally trigger positive and spiritual emotions in all of us. But her blog, though, is titled Double Down on Love, because it's a call to action. And it's a call to action that Unitarian Universalism is also giving us and wants us to answer. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But Brown writes about micro and macro expressions of love and believes we live in a time when we must have both. She cites the writings of the social critic Bell Hooks, particularly Hooks' book All About Love, and the concept of a love ethic. This love ethic encourages us to leverage the love we gain from spiritual delight and leverage all of that into good for the world. I'm going to give you a quote from Bell Hooks. Now, this is talking more about the macro level. Individuals who choose to love can and do alter our lives in ways that honor the primacy of a love ethic. We do this by choosing to work with individuals we admire and respect, by committing to give all to our relationships, by embracing a global vision wherein we see our lives and our fate as intimately connected to those of everyone else on the planet. Commitment to a love ethic transforms our lives by offering us a different set of values to live by. In large and small ways, we make choices based on a belief that honesty, openness, and personal integrity need to be expressed in public and private decisions. Okay, so that's kind of wordy, kind of heady, kind of cerebral. So Brené Brown interprets Hooks' message this way. She says doubling down on love demands that we be brave enough to straddle the tension of staying awake to the struggle in the world and fighting for justice and peace, while also cultivating a love ethic in our own lives. We can't sacrifice the micro for the macro or the macro for the micro. Love, belonging, connection, and joy are irreducible needs of all of us. We can't give people what we don't have, and we have to live love to give love. So in other words, I'll translate Brene Brown's words, we need to spend our summer seeking the spiritual delight that nourishes and nurtures our love. But if we live a love ethic, we need to leverage it, this personal love, to help heal the world. Now, Brene Brown also went on to say, okay, I'm going to live this love ethic in a big way. And she's doing a commitment on it. And so she gave us a list of what she's going to do. And so I'm just going to read off, I've summarized it to give you a sense of what she's up to. And you'll note that half of them are about taking care of herself and her people. She says, I've lived a love ethic my entire life, and I want to double down and love it again, right now. I want to nurture and protect love and kindness in myself and in others. The doubling down is going to require some changes in my life, and I'm going to start with these. First, I'm not afraid to have hard conversations or face pain, even when it feels so vulnerable. You have to remember she's writing this in October of 2019, right before the pandemic started and right in the middle of all the turmoil of the election that was going on. So I think that's where that's coming from. Number two, even though there are a million things that need to change, we all need to rest sometimes, even when there's still a shit ton of work to do. Those are her words. Number three, for me, self-love is making and taking the time to create. Number four, when the world feels tough and disconnected, I need to sink into the softness and connection of my family and friends. And I would add our fellowships. Number five, this one's important. I need to make sure my anger is a catalyst born of love, not justification for causing pain when I'm in pain. Number six, I want to co-create a love ethic in our organization. This is where she works, the foundation that she is the head of. I want to create a love ethic in our organization and in our facilitator communities. An ethic that informs how we show up with each other, serve the work, and cultivate belonging. I think it's exactly what we try to do in our fellowships. Number seven, I need deeper, more meaningful spiritual connection. I'm going to live into my values and stand up for what I believe in from a place of love. I'm talking about learning how to stay fueled by a gritty, dangerous, wide-eyed, wild-eyed, radical, change the world kind of love when disdain, judgment, and contempt are so much easier, and when fear is seducing me into staying quiet. So, Brené's really out there to change the world, I think. So all of this, like I said, it's all about learning to take care of yourself, your own love, and going out and doing something in the world to make a difference. Now, I know most of us don't read the newsletters that come out every week, but I wrote something this month. I write something every month, and I just wanted to lift it up today because to me, these are all tied together. In it, I talked about let's go out there and take extra walks, get out in nature, read those books you've been meaning to do, see if you can slow down life a little bit in the summertime, because our summers are so short here. But while you're doing that, I wanted you to think about the new value system that the UUA has come up with that we're discussing at General Assembly next week and going to vote on. So Michael, if you could put up the slide, please. There we go. You may have seen this. I had it up here last fall, and I know at Open Circle they've had numerous meetings to discuss it. But I'll just clear the slide very quickly. The goal is to rewrite the 7 principles. And I don't want to get into the debate about that. But what they've done is trying to make it more simple and clearer. And in my mind, there we go. In my mind, I'm a visual person, so this makes more sense to me. But it's basically saying that the group that's been working on this decided to say, well, we've got these 7 principles. What ties it all together? Because it looks like almost a grocery list. And they said, frankly, we do have a common theology or a common value of love that grounds it all. So it's all centered in love. And you can see on the screen, it might be kind of small for folks in the back, but it's interdependence, equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and justice. So all of the 7 principles are buried within them somewhere if you go into it. But this is what it's looking at. And to me, this is what I thought of when I was reading what Brene Brown and Bell Hooks were talking about, centering things in love. And so I wanted to give you, and I said in my article, I give you a little summer assignment, that when you're out there meditating, fishing, doing whatever, pick just one of these and read what it says, because now they've organized it according to give you a definition of what it is, then a covenant of how should we be together as we think about this, and they actually give you an action item, which was missing in the 7 principles before. So I'll give you an example. Interdependence. I think it's the principle, it's the 7th principle, that all of you can recite at a moment's notice, because I think it's the most near and dear to all of your hearts, because in this neck of the woods, we're all into the earth and environmentalism and being out in nature, and you're going to do that this summer. So it's the interconnected web of all of life. So interdependence. After the definition, it says this: we covenant to cherish earth and all beings by creating and nurturing relationships of care and respect. And then it goes on to say the action item: with humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the web of life, and we work to repair harm and damaged relationships. So, just unpack that briefly. What does this mean in this context of spiritual delight and a love ethic? Well, if you start in the beginning, it says, cherish or love the earth and all its beings. And I think we all know how to do that pretty well. We'll be doing a lot of that this summer. But the one thing is, humans are part of all of those beings. How do we cherish all its beings without cherishing humans? And humans are basically the cause of the degradation of the earth. So there's your paradox, right? Oh, and remember that it's not just those humans degraded the earth. We all do that. We all live in this society. We're all part of it. So then that leads to the second statement, which was, with humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life, and we work to repair harm and damaged relationships. So this gives us a lot to think about. As we delight in the love of the beauty and the bounty of nature this summer, we're asked to extend love to others, as well as try to repair even what our existence has done to the earth by consuming resources. And I'm not going to sit up here and say I have the answers. I don't. And there's no quick and easy solution, or it would already be in existence. So this is just the type of thing I'd like you to think about over the summer. And perhaps we should heed Brown's perspective. Recognize where love does not exist, and do what you can while still loving yourself, while still treating yourself to spiritual delight. So I'm going to close with a few points. It is our long tradition here to delight our spirits in the summertime. Many of us don't come that often during the summer. So center your delight in love for what is and for what is to come, or what you'd like to love into existence. And just a public service announcement, remember that first Sunday, well, not Labor Day weekend, but the next Sunday in September is Water Communion Sunday. So wherever you are this summer, nurturing your spirit, whether it's in your backyard watering plants, whether it's in your living room just reading that book you've wanted to get to, or you're on some exotic trip, get a little bit of water from there and bring it to that service, because we're going to mingle it, and we want to share your stories and your insights of what you've learned about this journey of love. So may our journeys this summer be blessed, and may we all return safely. Amen.